Hey y'all, I'm Niccara.
And I'm Brandon.
And welcome to another episode of ... But Make It Books.
A podcast where we are bookishly healing through life and nailing it along the way.
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
Nailed
I love that
it.
for us. I also love the fact that we're back after officially,
officially.
like officially, you know,
like official, like a whistle.
We've talked about we've talked about, or we did Sadiqa event, which
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot to that's what kind of this episode is.
Yeah.
It's like a check back, a tapping back in,
Okay, sweetie.
and a check back in. You know, coming back to it. I don't know. That's wild. It's how are you? What's the check in? How are you?
Tired. I'm gonna get untired. Trying to figure out like more artistic pursuits, what we were talking about before. So I'm gonna take an oil painting class. I'm so excited. So once we live here, I'm gonna go ahead and register for my little class, and I'm very excited. It's only 5 people in the class, so it's really hands-on. How about you?
I love that. I'm good. Today I had a cool opportunity to kind of like help my friends like take a next step towards one of his like endeavors, which is like cooking and stuff like that.
Ooh.
So like he was like, but he's trying to like get funding for like a ghost kitchen space and stuff like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it was really cool to like kind of have a drop in of sorts of my own in a conversation like that about this, that it's like, you know, especially it's like tapping into like that once cooked space that I had of like really like, you know, I'm settling into what it means and how I want to do all that and trying to figure all that out. And there are other people who are like taking baby steps towards their own goals. And I'm like, and they're like, hey, you want to talk or listen or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm like, sure, I can talk or listen, whichever. You know, so I don't know. It was cool. It was, you know, it was
Are you
fast,
manifesting
but
right
it's
now?
like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like always.
I know, but I feel like
I don't know.
with the event we have coming up, well,
With,
the IG event with the Kitchenista, I feel like you are manifesting it.
I mean, I've certainly been doing a lot of like food stuff, like trying to figure out where I am with like the culinary space again, because it's always been a part of my life. But I'm also like not trying to be back in that space where I have been, which is very like, I don't know, I just don't have appeal there anymore. But I'll always have a love for being like a foodie or something like that. So I feel like, you know, having an IG live with, you know, spoiler alert or whatever, the
really
Kitchenista or whatever,
you see it on Instagram,
is one thing. And then like, you know, just being in that meeting today was another thing. But then also just like figuring out dinner in the ways that I've been figuring it out lately is another thing. Like I made like a 36-hour sauce like a few days ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's things like that.
Meanwhile,
it's things like that. So maybe I don't know what we're manifesting. We're here and
I love that, though.
well with it all. It's his well.
it's as well.
Benny's been my favorite lately, and I love the IG. It's his well.
It's
as well. I love that.
It's well.
Cool. So, you know, I think that it would be with that. I mean, snowballing into our first icebreaker of the season, I guess it would be. How would you describe the first 2 months of the year so far? For you, you know.
The American in me wants to be negative, but the optimist in me wants to be more like clarity. I think for me, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, and instead of thinking about the worst that could happen, think about the best that could happen. So me and my friends were talking. Full disclosure, I had like a whole breakdown. I was like, what am I doing? Like, what is going on in my life? Like, I'm just so happy when I do these things, and like, I'm just scared. And I'm like, but if I don't do this, like, this could not happen. And so my friends were all like, okay, so let's take out what's the worst that could happen. Think about what is the best that could happen if you did the thing versus the worst that could happen. And I think that mindset has reflected a lot for me about what I view and see for myself and my future. And taking when it's okay to take breaks, and also saying like you need rest, and you're not missing out on anything. I think that's the other thing that we have as as like Americans, we always think we're like missing out on something, always in a state of FOMO versus just being in a state of peace and grace. And that's what I'm trying to lean into this year. So
I mean, that's the thing. It's like the fact that we created an acronym centered around the fear
of
missing out. You know what I mean? Of something. It's like, you know, we've done what we do, which is turn it into like a taboo, a hot button, you know, whatever. Buzzword, whatever. You know, and I've always been very okay with
missing out.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, and I feel like often, you know, I feel like part of my first 2 years has been, if I choose two words, the first one I would have to be faith first, because I certainly have done more communion with my faith a lot more lately. Yeah. And I'm just seeing like a resurgence in, Lord, I just hear my mom. I hear my mom in the back of my head, but like I am feeling this resurgence to like what it means to actually be in relationship with your faith or like your higher faith. Yeah. And I feel like I have dipped away from what that meant. Yeah. And I feel like this year has allowed that and to come back to my life and things like that. So, you know, and I think that in that development, I've been reminded that what's for you is for you. And that's one of those foundational things my mom would always say. And, you know, it's like, whatever God has for you, it is for you. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just the truth. Yeah. It's just the truth. If like, you know, regardless of your faith, I feel like, I personally feel like, you know, if it's yours, it will be yours.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm living a life of ease. That's the other word. Yeah. Ease, peace, faith, all of those things. Like, rejection is God's protection. So if something doesn't happen, I'm protecting my energy. I'm also just not going to, what my old high school principal used to always say, Dr. Turner, shout out to Dr. Turner. He would always say, these are the way of your life, like God, family, academics, and everything else. If you feel like your life is disjointed, it's probably because one of these things are out of place and you have made something else your God, essentially. And I think sometimes I have allowed everything else to take the place of God or my faith or me. Yeah. Because I am of God. So I'm not even taking care of me. Yeah. So if I'm taking care of God and my faith with God, then in all of it, I'm putting me first too.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So.
And I think in that, as a spinoff of that, I feel like that leads to like my second word, if I went to it, would be vibrance. Ooh. I feel like it's been a lot of like.
Word in a while. Vibrant.
You know, vibrant. Very
we
vibrant.
Love that.
You know, it's been cool. Like a cool start to the year. It hasn't been too, you know, and I think part of it is because I kind of abandoned. I have some things I'd like to practice, some things I'd like to continue to grow in, but I've abandoned like the New Year's goal. Oh, this year is the year where, you know, I do this or I do that. I have things that I would like to practice, and we will continue and practice over those years. Yeah. And I've seen results over this these past couple months. So, you know, we're just going to keep practicing.
We love that.
Because it's been a vibrant response, I feel. So,
Much
I don't know.
deserved.
It's cool. Yeah. So, I'm glad for that. That's
Me
for sure.
too.
Yes. So, along the same way about tapping back in this this episode, I wanted to just jump back into like the reader portion of us doing all of this or what have you.
And I'm podcast?
Just, you know what I mean? I think so. So my first question is like just what did you read over the break? Like like what is
So I did a lot of audio books. So I listened to Will, and then I listened to Jada, which is very illuminating for both of them. I think I learned a lot about the both of them, and in learning about the both of them, I learned a lot about myself. Those are like my main stick out ones that I definitely read, besides email.
Besides email. Right.
Those are like my biggest things that I like read. Right now what I'm reading is Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by
really?
James McBride. Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. So I'm like in the flesh of reading that. And then I read Look Closer by David Ellis. That was something wrong with people. for him to come up with that, because he's like a judge, and like he also helped write a lot with James Patterson too.
Oh yeah.
So he a judge, and I think he also like obviously practiced law, and so it was just like, where did you come up with this? Because who are you representing, or who did you represent or see through your judgeship that you see all that? Sir?
It's fresh off the tail of the book club discussion.
Yes. It was a lot. I needed more wine for that. But I had to take a break from the wine, so I couldn't get as drunk at book club like I usually do, so it's fine.
I love it.
How about you?
I love it. I also listened to Worthy, Jada's book, which was really great. You know, I'm interested in the dialogue around the way she did her book, because, you know, I read Will last year. I think it was last year I read Will.
I think so, because you're the reason why I read Will.
Yeah. So it's like, but both of them were, but like, I think it's interesting to talk about them, but then also like honor both approaches. Just, you know, for me, I love a structure to a book, and just, I liked Worthy a lot because of the structure and the approach, for sure. It's interesting because I also read, I Salvage the Bones is one of my favorite books ever.
Yes.
Men We Reaped is the reason that I love memoirs. Jesmyn Ward is one of my favorite authors.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because, and I just have to thank Davin and Charm City Books and whoever needed to do whatever to make sure I got to go. Thank you for sure, because that going to the breakfast with the Pratt, it was wild. It was a wild experience, yo. Like, it was like, I'm sitting here recalling it now, and I'm like, man, you know, she's got everybody up in here. Jesmyn Ward's got everybody up in here crying over eggs and cantaloupe and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm a mess. I'm a mess right now. Like, first thing in the morning, but it was just such, oh gosh, it was such a fantastic experience. Like, because, but like in preparation for that, I wanted to like, you know, I felt like I had to make sure I read, because it was like, I read Let Us Ascend. That was one of my last reads of 2023. There you go. That's last year. Just
because it is 2024.
Exactly. But I also then turned around and read Where the Line Bleeds, sort of in preparation. And that was my first time reading that. Yeah. And then I started to get to Sing Unburied Sing, and I haven't finished it yet. Okay. Because it's just, she's doing it again. Like, it's like I can't rush my experience with her
gotta
stuff.
take your time.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I want to make sure I read everything. That way I'm like, you know, I don't know. I just want to be prepared, right? That's the school coming out of me. I just want to be prepared. But like, I couldn't just push that like that. So I'm still working my way through Sing Unburied Sing, which is really interesting. Yeah. So I'm still on that. I also I read Rudy Francisco's latest work, While I Kiss the Sky. I mean, you know, that was great because it was also, again, structurally great because he gave a lot of nods to poets who inspired him, as well as kind of informing you of certain poetry structures and styles and things like that, which I think is great for anybody who's interested in poetry. Yeah. And then there was just his poems. It's themselves I think are really, really good. So I loved that experience. So
I love that.
You know, I think that's all I read as well. I think so. But like, to my next question, like, what are you planning on reading for like this year? Like, published or unpublished? Like, what are you trying to get into?
I got my little book list over here. It's a little heavy because some of these books she thick.
Yes.
Okay. So I know we argued about this before.
Oh Lord.
But I love Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age.
Oh.
I do. I really do.
I'm glad you do.
And we will have a debate on this. I feel like we need to have a mashup because you view. And look, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't like putting words in black people's mouths. But Such a Fun Age to Lester, and I don't agree.
To
like Such a Fun Age, like the characters.
To Lester.
To Lester.
Well, it's not. I think they're interesting duo to have a conversation around.
Yes.
What a person, but in these two stories, a woman may find herself in when they're in a situation where people marry. Like, I feel like, or you are also dealing with identity and finding a kind of coming of age thing. I think that the two have different things to say in conversation with each other. That's what I think.
Okay, that's a nice cleanup, but I don't.
That's what I think.
So she came out with "Come and Get It."
Yeah.
And so I've heard nothing but good things about this book. So I'm very excited. One, the cover is very interesting. Very interesting because like pigs, what? University of Arkansas, that's where they are. And I'm like still trying to figure out like where does the pig come into play, but I've always noticed every book cover that I have or have had or attracted to makes sense. So that I'm excited for this. A love song for Ricky Wilde, which is by Tia Williams, who shout out to her because she just signed a TV adaptation deal for 7 Days in June.
Oh yeah, yes.
So I'm very proud of her, and so I've heard nothing but good things about this as well. You know, I'm a sucker for a love story.
I do still want to read 7 Days in June.
You should, because I think you will like it as much as you made A Fool of Death with Your Beauty. Okay, it's not a traditional love story. I know this is one you already read, so Yellowface is definitely up there for me.
Love it.
I want to see or read more, and I think that there was a show I think we said it kind of reminded you of American Fiction.
Oh,
the movie.
Oh, well, the publishing aspect.
Yeah, the publishing aspect, like how publishing works. And if you guys haven't seen American Fiction, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I did too. Yeah, it was
very funny.
It was great.
I was cracking up. You know, my daily job is to always make white people uncomfortable, so I was laughing.
That's hilarious. But the thing about, and I do think, I feel like if we have like a required reading or required watching, American Fiction would be on that for like the pod.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know what I mean? Because it does bring up some real interesting conversations about black writers in this machine called publishing. It is.
Like who gets to write or tell you that your story is not authentic.
Yeah.
And I think there is a good tale to be told in that, and I'm sure that's going to be in Yellowface as well, of like there are stories to be told about certain things, but where the other stories reside. And I think that's what brings me to my next read. That I definitely want to read, which is Ours by Philip B. Williams. And I had the fortunate pleasure of, shout out to Reggie, to go see him in conversation with the author. And that stuck with me. Yeah. In many ways. And that kind of jumps to what I was saying about American Fiction and about Yellowface is we have since our forced migration to this country, and there's been over 1 million people enslaved, and the 1 million plus people are also 1 million plus stories. And so the way and I'm not taking credit for that, that's what Philip said, okay? That's what he said in the book talk, and that was very illuminating to me in my argument of why I feel strongly about tales being told of a Black experience in the antebellum South. There doesn't need to be a full scene of like us getting whipped or my baby.
Yeah.
Where's my baby going? It doesn't need to be all of that, but there are stories to be told, like Yellow Wife, right? Yeah. That is a story that needed to be told because we don't see stories like that often told from that perspective of how do you survive, or even narratives of a slave girl. Like that is how many tales do we really have of Black women being enslaved and telling it from their perspective? We have so many books from the male enslaved perspective, but not really from the woman perspective. And this book I'm very excited about because I think it's going to heal me in a lot of ways. And the way he talks about time in this book too, because they were saying like hours could also, you could put H for hours. And it still has the same context. Because what he was saying is that we as Black people, we live in like a surrealist lane or just not in time. because we are bigger than time. We can't fit into time. And when we try to fit into time, that is a white construct that has now capitalized itself about who gets to say what is time, who made time, all of those things. And that, I'm excited to really delve into this. It gives me very much Kindred mixed with Water Dancer, mixed with definitely a lot of pulling from Toni Morrison. He said he definitely talked about Song of Solomon and how that
sold.
Huh?
I was already sold, but
yeah,
sold,
he said like how she used ghost and he said I can do that. Like, and I was like, well, I wanted to say something. You can do whatever you want, because it's your book, it's your imagination. And he's a poet by nature.
Yes.
And so there's actually a thing in the back, in the acknowledgments, and it is hilarious. And I'm gonna find it. Ours began as a short story.
Wow. And
ours began as a short story.
Wow.
And in that, we have now gotten to
like over 500 pages.
Over 500 pages. But it goes through different decades. It follows 4 generations. And so, and who gets to say what is ours? And the fact of the ideas of ownership, which was very interesting the way he described it. He said, we belong to each other, but I don't own Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon doesn't own Niccara.
Yeah.
Because when you put in own on something or property or anything, then you're taking away someone's agency to have their own intrinsic thoughts, their own ideas of how they show up in the world and all of those things. And that to me stuck with me in so many different ways about what is ours. And it's also set in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not set in the South because newsflash, if everybody didn't know, slavery wasn't just in the South. And so he's like, he was very intentional, and that's why I think I'm so excited about this. The way he described it, he's like, I am not a black person from the South, so I have no business telling the perspective from someone who is a northern black versus a southern black, and what that means when there is tons of things to talk about, like St. Louis, when he say, which is a deeply, he's from Chicago, he's like, this is a deeply segregated city. Like, it's split into 4 quadrants, and if you could go to one part of the quadrant, people are making 30,000 and living well either below or slightly above the poverty line, versus if you go to the next quadrant right here, people are making 6 figures and living well above the, well above comfortable. And so I'm just really excited.
Clearly.
Yeah,
I love it.
Really
excited.
I
love that. I am also excited about it. I'm also very excited about it just based off of the premise, but then like hearing you like kind of dig into it after hearing the talk.
It was freeing.
That's cool.
And he also talked about tribes.
Oh yeah.
He's clearly going to be on the pod. He has no choice. I already told him he already doesn't have a choice. But the way he talks about the way our collective shared experience of whether you're in the diaspora in the Caribbean or even in the United States from forced migration, how we all have been lumped together to essentially figure it out and be one band, one sound. But if we go back to our roots, that's what tribes were for.
That's what tribes were for. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So bump it up to the top of your list.
Yeah.
Right.
Bump it.
I love it. I love it. So not long ago.
Yes.
It's been a few weeks, a few months now.
Buckle
maybe I don't
up,
remember.
Buttercup.
The paperback came out for Chain Gang All Stars. You've read it. Joe's read it. Another friend of mine has read it.
So I'm not almost done. Because I still
you're not almost done.
I'm not almost. I'm not almost done.
You're not almost done.
Y'all know what I mean. Y'all know I can't speak real words. I'm almost done, but it's the way Black Buck took you a minute. This is taking me a minute.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. It's like I'm interested in okay. Also over the break, I started watching The Wire. And this is actually
from the beginning.
Don't hurt me, yeah, from the beginning. But this
no, it's okay. I don't watch it.
I know, but it's like I'm interested in I don't know. There's not really a full correlation here, but it is like I think like the policing system, the prison system, the complex, the industrial complex of it all.
Slavery by another name.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what that is doing in the mix of my life right now. But this one has been like pulling to the front of my list. It's like, don't forget you wanted to read this really interesting approach to that. Don't forget that. So see what it's about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And it's like, but again, it's like I know it's a doozy. So I'm like, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot for you. Because of who we are. And I also think in that book for me, it could happen. And I think that's what's taking so long.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, well, similarly so, I want to read The Reformatory, too.
What is this?
So
it's giving Mormon.
So this is
Daughters of the cult.
This is like another spinoff off the Dojo School for Boys.
Oh.
So it's another like sort of horrific tale, you know, about one of the subjects that we've been like very avoidant of about in terms of like we talk about how we want to do the Nickel Boys, but we also are like, woo, I don't know if I could do the Nickel Boys.
I'm gonna have Colin come in here and talk to us about the Nickel Boys.
I mean, you know, and then
because that was a lot. I cried so bad.
I mean, I feel like you know, this is bigger. This is more, and then it's an intentional horror story as well, so it's not just a historical fiction, but it is like there are like aspects of it that are intended to be quite gothic and so forth. So I'm very interested in this book.
Report back.
You know, it's like, you know, it's going to be a minute. I was like, I got some doozies that I want to get through so quick, which is not unsurprising of me. Yeah, you know, I started off talking about Jasmine, for God's sakes, but anyway. But also on this side, but in a great way also, praise song for Kitchen Ghosts. Again, the manifesting, I guess. Maybe it is in there somewhere.
Your ancestors guiding you.
But also it is...
Them biscuits look great.
They look fantastic. But it is also the fact that it's one of the reasons why I love cookbooks. Because this is also so very narrative. And like, it's funny. I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait till payday and then I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna wait till payday, then I'm gonna get it. I walk in on payday and somebody already bought it. I was upset, but obviously there's no reason to be really upset. That's the perk of working at a bookstore. But I was like, you know, obviously I'll just get it. But I was like, I was just ready. I was just so ready. But then it came in and like I've already read like the first like 20 pages of it, and like I'm already like pacing around my kitchen trying to figure out what that means. And I don't know, this is such an exciting release, and like as soon as I heard about it, I was like, oh, I have to have it, and I have it, and I think it's great.
So it's yours, it's your baby.
Yeah. Right now it's the one that's really talking to me a lot right now, for sure. I love that. I've also rereading. We're talking about what we're about to read, which is more plays. I have more plays as well, which is interesting. But also, but on that note, Dominique Morisseau is a playwright that is in production right now with Sunset Baby. I want to read her play Blood at the Root, which is about again something harder, but Gina 6 trials that happens, where again young black boys are getting accused of things that they didn't do, and then having to spend years of litigation and jail and accusation and harassment and trauma and you know, there's a story there that I'm hoping to work through for something else. So it's like throwing in that little theater read too for what things I want to read for this year. Yeah,
there's another book I want to read, and I have to remember what it's called, but it's detailing like Langston Hughes's and Zora Neale Hurston's beginning, budding friendship and dissolving of their friendship. I'm very interested to read more. So I've been reading an article about it. It was in the New York Times. But I want to know, like, one, I didn't even think about them being friends. And I don't know why. I should have. Because they shared the same patron. Yeah. And then Langston went away from that patron. So I'm very interested. Because I might have to go back and read The Ways of White Folks again.
Oh, yeah.
By Langston Hughes, which is one of my favorite books. I might need to circle that back because I want to see what Zora Neale Hurston, like, what was the dissolving of their friendship? Because it would make sense. They were traveling around the South, and I feel like I have a Southern theme going on. It's sans ours, and I want to know.
Yeah.
I've been like in my memoir bag now.
Love it. I love
because
it.
you have brought me to the table to it.
You're welcome. Exactly. Well, I think that is good for our first
I think
back
that
into
is.
this episode of everything. I think we got to a bunch of things that we wanted to look into, what we're already working through, all that stuff. It is so cool to be back in this space again, doing this again, talking about books and working towards healing processes and everything. I appreciate everything that's happened so far, everything that's coming, including, remember everybody, please mark your whatever's, your calendars for, we're going to do an IG live with the Kitchenista, Angela Davis, which is also so cool.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Very cool.
And that'll be on the 11th of March, which is also the week of ultimately when we turn 1 year old.
Yeah.
1 year old.
1 year old.
1 year old.
We're a baby. Newborns.
Newborn. I mean, you know, it's really cool to like be able to kind of be reflective like that. And I think I'll be in like this reflective, mushy gushy space over that for a little while.
Yeah.
Again, just gratitude for everybody who's been there with us for a while, and helping us our growing of everything. Please always remember that you can get everything that we discuss here, right here at Charm City Books, our local independent bookstore of choice. Now, I'm probably trying to say this a lot more this season, like, just don't go to Amazon. Just don't go to Amazon.
Yeah, that is actually facts.
It's
like, as someone who's also addicted to Amazon for other things, this is just one of those things that I think you just really shouldn't do. And I get it. My thing is, can you wait 2 days? Because you ain't going to read it when it gets in the mail. Stop playing with me and stop playing with yourself.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, let's call the thing a thing.
You know what I mean? So tap into your favorite indie bookstore, like we've tapped into ours. I think we're good.
Yeah.
That's everything. Cool. So, cool. Until next time, remember, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Niccara.
And keep on healing, but make it bookish.
Peace, y'all.